Hello everyone and welcome to 2023. Also, welcome to my channel. I decided to make the first video of the year a little bit different, and instead of going over my process for creating this selfie painting, I'm going to do a Meet the Artist and tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Chrissy, but I go by the name SquidPeg online. That is my online handle, and it's been my online handle for more than a decade. Actually closer to 2 decades now, and that's where you'll find me online all over the place. I am a Navy wife, and my husband and I have been together for over 15 years, just over 15 years, and he's been in the Navy for about 12 years. I'm also a mom. I have 3 toddlers. That's right, 3 toddlers. My eldest is actually almost 5, so he won't be a toddler for very much longer, but he's currently 4, and I have 2 3-year-old twins. I have boy-girl twins who are actually born on Halloween, which we all love. I'm also a Gemini. My birthday is in June, and I don't really know what that means. I'm not super into astrology. Astrology isn't my thing, as it were, but whenever I say that to people, I get one of 2 incredibly opposite responses. Either someone is like, yep, that tracks, you're the quintessential Gemini, or I get a, what, really? No way. You're not like a Gemini at all. So I have no idea. I'm a Gemini, and it doesn't seem to mean anything to me. I have been drawing my entire life, which I think is probably the story for like every artist. So I did start when I was a toddler, pretty much like everybody else, and have always really loved art in general. That was like the area in school that I always excelled at. I wasn't really big in the academic world just in general, but any kind of artistic class that I could take or artistic like extracurricular that I could do, I was like all about. But as far as digital art, I picked it up again, probably close to 20 years ago, but I was kind of in and out of it. I would pick it up for a couple of months and then I would move on, get bored, life would get too busy, things like that. Sometimes I would take breaks of several years, and every time you get back to it, it's basically like having to start over from scratch. So I kind of, even though I started about 20 years ago, I never really like got serious about it or did it on a regular basis. And I didn't start doing that until about 2 years ago, actually. And I think, honestly, I have the pandemic to blame or thank for that. I'm not sure which way to go yet. But, having something that you can do just from the comfort of your home as sort of an avenue for de-stressing and escapism and just having fun. I'm a big creative person, so hobbies that I have usually involve being able to make something. So I started creating art on a more regular basis about 2 years ago. And style influences, I would say, kind of go all over the place, I think. They start with things like Disney movies, of course, Studio Ghibli movies, of course. I was a big anime fan. I've always been a big nerd. And even in school, when it wasn't like cool yet to be a nerd, I was always super into things like Sailor Moon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball Z and Studio Ghibli movies, all of those things. I even really loved Disney animations far into like my teenage years when it wasn't quote unquote cool to do so anymore. I don't care. I love them. So we could definitely say that those are influential factors. I was also a big fan of 80s cartoons. My jams were like the original My Little Pony, Rainbow Bright, Strawberry Shortcake, and I think a lot of those influence me as a person, even now, and my art. And kind of mixed in there in a weird sort of juxtaposition is horror movies, just the horror genre in general. I always loved even as a kid, like one of my favorite jokes, which is actually true, is my 2 favorite things when I was like 5 years old were Rainbow Bright and Child's Play. Yeah, I think that explains a lot about my style, my influences, my personality, just me as a person. And even now, today, as an adult, I love all of those things still. I still super love anime. I'm still a super nerd. I'm into video games and horror movies. And even like the just spooky TV shows and cartoons and things like that are coming out nowadays. I am all about it, which is, of course, another reason that I love the fact that I have twins that were born on Halloween. I am also a big animal lover. I have currently 2 cats and a dog, but, throughout my life, I've always had animals of some kind. I've also done a lot of work with rescues. I've done TNR programs, which is trap, neuter, release for feral cats, as well as feral cat homing communities where basically you're building places for feral cats to go to stay warm and dry, but they still live outside because at a certain point they can't be domesticated, or homes and rescues are too full for adoption. And the cats are perfectly happy outside as long as the population is controlled and they are kept happy and healthy within reason. I've also done like a lot of rescue work myself, and working with rescues as either a foster or just a volunteer. All of the pets that I have right now, actually, now that I think about it, are from a situation like that. My cat Tiger is the one that we've had for the longest. He's about 7.5, and he was a rescue. We found him and his 2 sisters on a busy road in Hawaii. And when we pulled over, because they were tiny kittens, they were probably like 5 or 6 weeks old. We pulled over because we saw these kittens in the road, and we found out that the mom was just a little ways down and had been hit by a car. And was unfortunately gone. So we ended up rounding up these kittens from the road / the tall grass that was right next to the road, and took them home with the intention of getting them healthy and fixed and defleed and then finding them homes. And that turned into, of course, all 3 of them being our cats for a little while, because it ended up being much, much harder to find them homes than we were expecting. Even though I had a ton of experience by that time rehoming cats, we just had a very difficult time with those 3. So we eventually were able to find a home for his 2 sisters, and luckily the person who adopted them is actually part of our extended family. So now those cats, we call them part of our extended family as well. And Tiger ended up being just our cat. We decided to keep him. Our other cat, Oscar, we adopted. He was a foster fail, meaning that he came to me. I was working with a rescue as a foster mom for cats and dogs. And Oscar came to me as a foster with his brother. And my cat Tiger ended up loving him so much that we ended up keeping him and we call Oscar Tiger's cat. And then our dog Mochi, he is a corgi, and he again was a foster fail. We had been talking about getting a dog for a while, and we've been going back and forth on what kind of dog to get, mostly for our kids, because we just have strong feelings about having puppies or dogs around kids. And so we wanted to get one, but we wanted to make sure that we waited for the right time, and we also wanted to make sure that we got the right kind of dog. And the one that we were leaning towards was either a blue heeler or a Shiba Inu. And then we ended up with a corgi. I don't know how that happens. But we, like I said, he was a foster fail. So I was fostering him. Again, he was an owner surrender because the owner didn't have the time or resources to devote to him that he needed or he deserved. So the owner surrendered him to the rescue that I was working with. And I was his foster mom. And then my husband one day was just like, let's keep him. He's our dog now. So now we have the 2 cats and the dog. Beyond that, my free time hobbies, which I don't get a lot of because, again, I'm a mom of 3 toddlers, are drawing, of course, art, walking or hiking in nature, and crochet or knitting, which is something that is another hobby that I kind of started years ago and pick up and put down. That one is probably never going to be one that I do like on the regular, but I'm back into it now and making a bunch of shawls and tablecloths and things like that. I also love movies. I still love my horror movies, and honestly, just movies in general. I'm a big Marvel girl, and video games. I'm also still a big video gamer. I'm not at all into first-person shooters. That's not really what I'm into. My biggest thing is colony sims or builder games and RPGs. RPGs could probably be lumped in as another inspiration for me for my art style. The very first RPG I think I played was Legend of Dragoon, and I didn't get to it until it was like on the greatest hits list. It had been out for several years by the time I got to play it, but I was absolutely in love with that game. It was a PlayStation 1 game, and I still, like every few years I go back to playing that game because it is still in my top 5 of like best RPGs ever. And then of course, my second favorite being Final Fantasy VII. I'm a huge Final Fantasy nerd, and I'm not sure what the other 3 would be. Those are definitely my top 2 though. Right now I'm into the Disgaea series a lot. I'm playing Disgaea 6 at the moment, and I've played all of the other ones as well. And that one probably is considered more of like a strategy RPG, but whatever. So that's everything I can think of to introduce myself, all of the most pertinent information, I suppose. And of course, if you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comment box below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.